A message for the collectives. Healing and growth. I have a message I'd like to share with you today. It's about something that might have shaped your life in ways you didn't expect. It's about the father figures in your life, those who raised you, influenced you, or left a mark on your personal journey. You may have had a father who was tough, serious, or difficult to understand. Or perhaps there was another man who played a role in your life. But their behavior, attitudes, and the way they expressed themselves had a deep impact on you. This person may have shaped the way you see the world, the way you handle your emotions, and the way you interact with others. There's a good chance that this father figure could have been very strict or serious. You may have felt that this person was always on edge, always ready to step in with discipline or control, whether it was for good reasons or not. Maybe you always felt like you had to walk on eggshells around them because they were hard to please or hard to understand. This could have been a father, a stepfather, or even another male figure in your life, someone who was very tough on you growing up. And while they might have wanted the best for you, their way of showing love and care was different from what you might have hoped for. Let's take a moment to understand this kind of relationship. When you grow up with someone who is tough, strict, or always in discipline mode, it can leave a lasting impression on you. You might have felt like there was a wall between you and this father figure, as if they were incapable of showing affection or warmth. They might have believed that love should be earned or that it was their job to prepare you for the world by making you tough. They might not have been the type to give hugs or say, "I love you." Instead, their way of showing care might have been through harsh lessons or by pushing you to succeed. However, this doesn't mean that your father or this male figure didn't love you. On the contrary, they may have loved you deeply, but they simply didn't know how to express it. You see, some people struggle to show emotions, especially if they grew up in an environment where emotions weren't expressed freely. Your father might have had his own challenges when it came to expressing love, so he did what he knew best. For him, love could have looked like being hard on you, setting strict rules, or not showing vulnerability. This kind of tough love could have been his way of protecting you, preparing you for the world, or showing you that life wasn't always going to be easy. But just because someone loves you doesn't mean they know how to express it in a way that feels comforting or nurturing. And in the case of your father or anyone who took on this role, the struggle to show love could have created an emotional distance between you. You might have longed for affection, understanding, and warmth, but instead you got lessons, expectations, and sometimes even criticism. This is where things can become complicated, because love is such a vital part of how we grow as individuals. When love isn't expressed in a way that feels comforting or safe, it can create a gap, a space where you might feel misunderstood, lonely, or uncertain of your value. Looking back on your childhood or your relationship with this father figure, it's important to recognize the role that silence and emotional distance played. Your mother, for example, might have silently struggled with this relationship. She may have been dealing with her own emotional pain because of your father's inability to express affection. It doesn't mean that your dad didn't love her, but perhaps their love was never fully communicated, and she had to silently accept it. It's possible that she stayed quiet about her feelings because she didn't want to upset the balance, or maybe she didn't know how to talk about it either. And so the pattern continued: your dad's tough love, your mom's silent suffering, and your own experiences shaped by both of them. This dynamic can have a lasting impact on you as a person. If you grew up with a father who was tough, unemotional, or always focused on discipline, there's a chance that you might have inherited some of those same traits. It's not uncommon for children to pick up on the behaviors of their parents. In fact, many of us carry on the habits and attitudes we grew up with, without even realizing it. This is where the father wound comes in. It's a term used to describe the emotional scars that are left when a father figure's behavior, whether it's strictness, neglect, or emotional distance, affects a child's development. These wounds can shape the way we approach relationships, love, and even ourselves. If you are someone who has struggled with expressing emotions or who tends to keep your feelings hidden, it might be worth looking at how your father's behavior impacted you. Maybe you have a hard time showing affection to others or opening up emotionally. Perhaps you find it difficult to be vulnerable because you never saw vulnerability modeled in your family. It's possible that you've internalized the belief that being tough, strong, and unemotional is the only way to survive. But this is where healing can begin. by recognizing that these traits, while they might have served a purpose in the past, are not always helpful in the present. Now, it's important to understand that this message is not meant to place blame on your father or any other male figure in your life. It's about recognizing patterns and understanding how they've affected you. Your father may have done the best he could with the tools and understanding he had. However, that doesn't mean that everything he did was perfect, nor does it mean that his ways of showing love were always healthy or helpful. Healing from these kinds of wounds means acknowledging the pain, understanding the influence it has had on your life, and then deciding to move forward in a healthier way. It's common for people to carry their father's traits with them into adulthood without realizing it. You might find yourself acting in ways that remind you of your dad. Perhaps you are overly strict with others, unwilling to listen, or stubborn in your beliefs. These habits, passed down from your father, can create challenges in your relationships and in your own emotional growth. But the good news is that once you recognize these behaviors, you can start to work on changing them. Healing these father wounds isn't just for those who had difficult relationships with their fathers. It's also for those who might have had an emotionally absent father or a father who didn't know how to show love. If you see these patterns in yourself, if you notice that you have inherited some of the traits or behaviors that your father exhibited, you're being asked to heal them. The message here is not to repeat the mistakes or patterns of the past. If your father was hard on others, didn't listen to people, or was stubborn, you're being asked to break that cycle. It's time to ask yourself, what traits or behaviors did your father exhibit that you don't want to carry forward? Were there things about his personality that you didn't like? Things that made you feel unloved, unheard, or unwanted? These are the things you need to work on. Recognizing these behaviors is the first step to healing. Once you acknowledge them, you can make a conscious decision not to pass them on to the next generation, whether that means being more open with your emotions, listening more to others, or being kinder and more patient. The healing process is personal. Some of you might need to work through this on your own, while others might need help from a counselor or therapist to guide you. Healing doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey that involves self-reflection, growth, and forgiveness of both yourself and your father. It might also involve having difficult conversations, either with your father, if he's still in your life, or within yourself, to understand why things were the way they were. At the heart of this message is the idea that healing starts with awareness. By understanding how the behaviors of a father figure have shaped your life, you can begin to let go of unhealthy patterns and create new, healthier ones. This is not just about healing old wounds, but about becoming the best version of yourself, someone who can love, connect, and thrive in healthier ways. I've been asked to share a very important message, and I want you to really listen. It's a message that comes from a place of deep care, wisdom, and love. This person who asked me to pass on the message has been through a lot in their life. They've made mistakes, faced challenges, and have learned many hard lessons. Now, they want to pass on those lessons to their son to help him avoid making the same mistakes and live a better life. The message begins with a father speaking to his son. He says, "Son, I need you to do better. You've got to stop ignoring the important things in your life. There are things you need to face that you might have been avoiding, things that have been passed down from our past, from your family's past. You have the chance to break the cycle and heal from those old wounds. I don't want you to end up like me. I couldn't heal from the things that hurt me because I didn't face them. I didn't allow myself to deal with those wounds. But you have the chance to heal, to fix things, and to grow stronger because of it. If you allow yourself to heal, you can bring the right people, the right opportunities, and the right blessings into your life." It's clear that this father is speaking from experience. He's been through struggles, and he doesn't want his son to face the same pain he did. He wants him to break free from old habits and old ways of thinking. Sometimes, we repeat the mistakes of the past without even realizing it, and that's what the father wants his son to avoid. The father goes on to say, "You need to face the truth and deal with the things that are bothering you. Don't look away from them. Look them in the eye and find a way to fix them. If you keep ignoring your problems, they'll just keep getting worse. You can't keep running away from them forever." Now, maybe you're wondering, what exactly are these problems the father is talking about? The father didn't go into specifics, but he's talking about things like emotional wounds, past pain, relationships that may have fallen apart, and maybe even money problems. These are real issues that many people face, and the father wants his son to face them head on instead of pretending like they don't exist or avoiding them altogether. The father also mentions that it might be something about breaking a cycle. Sometimes families carry on certain patterns of behavior from one generation to the next. These patterns are called generational curses or cycles. They're habits or ways of thinking that get passed down from one person to the next, often without anyone even realizing it. These patterns could include things like unhealthy relationships, bad financial habits, emotional scars, or even feelings of anger, hurt, or bitterness that people never heal from. The father is telling his son that he has the power to break this cycle. He doesn't have to carry the same burdens or make the same mistakes. He can choose to do things differently. You can choose to be better, the father says. You can heal from the wounds that have been passed down to you, and you can make sure that your children don't carry these same burdens in the future. This is an incredibly powerful message because it gives hope. It tells us that we are not stuck in the same patterns forever. We have the power to change our lives and to make things better, not just for ourselves, but for the generations that will follow us. One of the things the father speaks about is the importance of healing, especially from something called a father wound. A father wound is something that happens when a child feels hurt, rejected, or abandoned by their father. This can happen in many different ways. Maybe a father is emotionally distant or doesn't show love in the way the child needs. Maybe the father is physically absent or doesn't provide guidance or support. These wounds can last a lifetime if they're not healed, and they can affect how a person relates to others, how they see themselves, and how they approach life. The father is telling his son that he needs to heal from these wounds, or they will continue to affect him negatively. The father also warns his son not to make the same mistake he made. He says, "I wasn't able to heal because I refused to recognize that I had wounds. I didn't want to face them, so I ignored them. But now I know that I should have faced them, because that's the only way to truly heal. Don't make the same mistake I did. Allow yourself to heal, and you will see your life transform in ways you can't even imagine." Healing is a big part of this message. It's not just about fixing what's broken, but it's about becoming a whole person. When we heal, we open ourselves up to new possibilities. We can attract the right people into our lives, the right relationships, and the right opportunities. We become stronger and more capable of facing whatever comes our way. Healing doesn't mean forgetting about the past, but it means learning from it and not letting it control us anymore. The father's message also touches on something that many people struggle with: avoiding their problems. Sometimes when things get hard, we try to avoid dealing with them. We turn away from the pain or the difficult situation because we don't want to face it. But as the father says, avoiding problems doesn't make them go away. In fact, it often makes things worse. The father is encouraging his son to stop looking away and start facing his problems. "You have to fix it, son," he says. "You can't keep running from it." This message isn't just about relationships or emotional wounds. It could also apply to other areas of life, like finances, career, or even health. Maybe you've been ignoring your finances, and now they're in a mess. Or maybe you've been avoiding working on your health, and it's starting to show. The father is saying that now is the time to face those problems, to take responsibility for them, and to take action to make things better. Another key part of this message is about spirituality. The father encourages his son to draw closer to God. The father believes that the only way to truly heal and break free from old patterns is to have a relationship with God. He believes that through God's guidance and strength, his son can overcome any obstacle. He says, if you feel like you've lost everything, if you feel like you've hit rock bottom, know that it's not the end. It's just the beginning of a new chapter. God is moving you into a place where you can receive the blessings that are meant for you. You had to lose things and people so that you could make room for the better things God has planned for you. When we go through tough times, it can feel like we've lost everything. But the father reminds his son that sometimes we have to lose things to make room for the good things that are coming. It might be hard to see in the moment, but this message gives hope that there is something better ahead. God is preparing us for something greater. The Father also talks about taking responsibility for our actions. He says, maybe you've hurt people in your life. Maybe you've been unkind to your wife, your children, your friends, or others around you. Maybe you've made mistakes in your relationships or with your finances. But now you are aware of it. You know better now, so it's time to do better. This is a very important part of the message. We can't change the past, but we can learn from it. We can take responsibility for the mistakes we've made, apologize if necessary, and do our best to be better in the future. The Father emphasizes that avoiding problems and running from them won't help. We have to face them, deal with them, and take accountability for our actions. If we can do that, we'll be able to change and grow. This is the only way to truly move forward and receive the blessings that are waiting for us. This message is full of wisdom, love, and hope. It reminds us that no matter how difficult life may seem, we have the power to change, to heal, and to create a better future. It encourages us to face our problems, take responsibility for our actions, and seek a deeper connection with God. And most importantly, it teaches us that healing is the key to attracting the right things and people into our lives. So, if you're reading this and you feel like you've been avoiding something in your life, whether it's a relationship, a financial issue, or an emotional wound, know that now is the time to face it. It may be hard, but it's the only way to move forward. And remember, you don't have to do it alone. Turn to God for strength, healing, and guidance. With time, effort, and faith, you can heal, grow, and become the best version of yourself. I hope this message brings you peace and clarity. Take the time to reflect on your life, your actions, and your choices. Remember that it's never too late to start healing and making things better. Blessings to you on your journey.